Hey, Good News family, welcome to Now What, the podcast where we pull up a chair, talk through Sunday's message, and ask the question we're all thinking, now what? What do we do with what we just heard? And how do we actually live it out this week? So grab your coffee, your energy drink, whatever will keep you engaged, and let's figure it out together. Hey, Good News family. So glad to be here again. It's a lovely Monday afternoon.
Whoop, whoop.
How was your morning, boys and girls?
Great.
Yeah?
It was hard to wake up this morning. I think it's because we slept with the windows open, and so it was like cool. No, it was like cool and, still dark. It's not to the point of the year where the sun comes out at 6 a.m., so I was just like, and I back at work this week. So
let me clarify for the people that don't live where you live. There are people that sleep with their windows open. Perhaps in your side of the world, you're like, do what? I will never do that because it's a problem.
Will you sleep with your windows open?
Nope, never.
Well,
I don't leave my garage door open. I don't leave my front door open. I don't sleep with my windows open.
Well, but I'm on the second floor, so nobody's going to break in. I mean, maybe they would, but
take
like Spider-Man at my house.
No, but there are places where it's not really.
If I had a bedroom on the first floor, I would not do that. Like I lock all my windows on. Oh no.
So you have a dog.
I am
the dog will bark.
I have obsessive compulsive disorder about doors and windows being locked. Okay. I know. Odd, right? Where I actually check. Jake makes fun of me, my husband Jake, because I check the doors probably 3 times.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a work in progress.
The problem now is Nate's usually the one who.
Dateline.
That's your problem. Nate checks the doors. However, the teenager stays up later than him, and invariably we come down in the morning and we're like, the door's unlocked, and it was locked when we went to bed. There's only one person to blame. So. Yeah.
I also typically, like if I'm going to bed and the teenagers are not home yet, I send them the lovely text of like, hey, be careful driving home. I love you. Also, don't forget to lock the door. Yeah. And then usually when I wake up in the middle of the night to use the restroom, I even go check to make sure the door's locked. I told you, it's a little bit obsessive, but
the Lord says his angels are watching over you guys.
Yes, and amen.
You need to settle down a little bit. Okay, I would just like, because you said it on Sunday, I've gotten permission to use this phrase, that I'm here with my 2 brown people friends.
Yes.
2 of my brown people friends.
Yes.
And the only reason you graduated into that this week, mind you, is because you just came back from vacation.
We did.
And I actually think you're browner than PR.
That's the best compliment you could have given.
Listen.
Let's see.
Look at that.
Nope, you're not.
I think I am a little bit.
No, you kind of reddish brownish.
Reddish brown.
We get like a little pink undertone.
Don't worry, the summer is coming. This is just a preview.
Yeah, and don't tell people, but she actually gets to go on one more vacation here in a couple weeks. And
Who knew that I was this person that went on?
Wow.
It was a fluke. The trip she got to take last week was a Christmas present for her kids.
Yes.
Then in 2 weeks, we're celebrating our best friend's 30th wedding anniversary. Yeah. And that's a really big deal.
Yeah.
So I get to go try to catch up.
You can do it. I believe in you.
Not a chance.
You need a few months of vacation.
We'll come back and we can all be brown friends together.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could. The doctor said to me the other day, she said, do I need to have the sunscreen talk with you? I said, no, I'm not going to listen to your sunscreen talk. Yeah. I don't want it.
Yeah.
I'm taking it. And no emails either about it.
Yes,
just let me do what I want to do.
Don't worry, my grandma already sends me the emails. Okay.
See, when you get to a certain age, Tana, it doesn't matter. You just on the
everything
doesn't really matter. Don't wear sunscreen. Eat all the fried food you want. It's just sugar. I
actually think that as we age, I'm not sure what age at, but you should gain weight, because then when you're really old and you get sick, you have weight to when people.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
we have weight to lose.
Yeah, no, for real. If you get sick and you're 85 and they always you're sick if you've lost a bunch of weight recently. Well, if you're 85 and a little bit overweight, you're like, oh, but I had weight to lose, so I'm going to make it through. Your body survives.
So that's your plan. That's why you attack those donuts. Okay, got it.
Okay, that makes me think of the show. Do you guys ever watch the show Alone, or have you ever watched it?
Jake likes that show.
We love that show.
I would never survive. Of course, I make it about me, and I'm like, there's no coffee,
and there's no donuts,
and there's no blanket. I'm out. I have to survive.
Here's what's happening in the last couple seasons we've been watching. People are they're putting on a bunch of weight before they go on the
Oh,
show.
yeah,
So they're
that's not a bad
cheating the
idea.
system.
Oh, I think it's-
and now they're
I think it's
lasting longer
strategy.
than the woman who or the man who's like in stellar shape. They've been working out hard for this. They're
Yeah.
whatever. And now the people who are just munching on Cheetos for the last 6
Which
months,
it's-
they win.
I would think about, I could do Survivor because I think Survivor is in a warm place.
Okay.
So I would
I've
be
never
more
watched
apt
Survivor.
to do Survivor.
Yeah.
Not alone because they take you to a cold place.
Yes.
And
Well, sometimes they take you
Sometimes
to
it's
a
hot.
jungle.
Yeah.
Oh, do
Yeah,
they? Okay,
yes.
maybe I haven't seen those ones.
And
I
like
thought it was
don't
always a cold place.
Yeah, and my thing with
no.
that is like, I couldn't.
Not about to get
I don't
eaten.
care about the animals and it's
Yeah.
just all the like the people. Have you seen the people like they get bit like by
Yes.
a whole bunch of
yes.
ants and things, and they're like in the middle of the
Creepy
night, and they
crawlies.
wake up like with
Maybe this
What's
is
crawling in your
TMI.
ears when you're sleeping?
Sorry, I won't say which sister it is, but one of my sisters who played professional volleyball spent a season in.
say it. We know who it is.
No, there was two of them.
Hey.
She spent a season in Indonesia, and she came back and had a slight. I wouldn't call it an infestation. She had to seek medical treatment in her body.
Wow.
Yeah, And I was
Something moved in.
And then she said that
You're how? Do that facial expression again.
I don't remember what I did.
I
but
hope
was
that Autumn makes that our cover photo.
the thumbnail. But she also, like her bags, we had to leave outside for several days to make sure that anything that came back with her did not make it into the house or into anyone else. Yeah.
So gross.
She said that in Indonesia, I think she was in Jakarta. It was very common that they would just be on the walls and in the bed. And I'm really grateful for my home that doesn't have
Critters.
bugs in it.
I'm trying to figure out how do I transition now into the sermon after that story.
Yeah, I
but
don't even
speaking
know.
of intimidation.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. PR, you did week 3 of our knockout series, and we were on, you called it confidence versus intimidation. And 1 Samuel 17, David and Goliath, which actually I noticed this morning. I like how, I don't know, maybe it was intentional by God. It's the story of David and Goliath, not Goliath and David, because Goliath lost. So David's name comes first, like, he gets the shout out or whatever. But I have a few questions for you guys, but I want to say a couple things that you started out. You said intimidation is one of the most basic tactics of the enemy. If he can get you to believe a lie and lose courage and your confidence in God, then he wins. And you used some examples of maybe the simple tactics of what he would say is like, you don't have what it takes. You're too weak. You couldn't do it before. God's not listening. You can't possibly think you're going to be able to win or beat that. I think about anyone who's battled any kind of addiction, mild addiction to severe addiction. It's like, you can't possibly think you're going to beat
Right.
that. And so I want us to be able to go into where you went with those kind of things and what we're listening to, but a little rabbit trail before we jump like fully into the message. We know bits and pieces of who you used to be. I did not tell you I was going to ask you this before Jesus. And the version that I think of when I knew the guy from the streets of New York would be like a pretty confident guy. What is the difference in the confidence you had then versus what you have now? Or maybe there's not a difference.
Well, I think that there's a huge difference, because sometimes I would say that when I was younger, I would say I was cocky and portrayed confidence.
Was?
Okay.
Well, listen.
Okay, here we go. Shots fired.
I haven't seen you in a long time.
I know, right? And we definitely have not sit around this round table.
Yeah.
The night the night of the round table.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there was a difference. So it was, I was and sometimes am cocky, but I portrayed confidence before, where I was not necessarily confident. And I think that so many times, we do that as well. Even now, sometimes we tend to show something to people that is not really who we are. And so, when I was younger, I would say that, I portray confidence. I portray that, I got this, and it was this bravado and mentality that, never let them see you sweat, survival of the fittest, and and just that mentality that came across. But deep inside, dying of fear.
Okay.
And really just, being intimidated. And sometimes the decisions you made was because of intimidation,
Sure.
Even though you may be saying something that sounds good, like, man, this guy's confident. But in reality, my actions did not show that I was confident, to where now, I do realize, like, man, that right there is intimidation. And I feel it and I sense it. But then I have to look at, okay, but I'm not doing this alone, right? Like, God is on my side, and not only on my side, if I move forward, understanding that God is the one who sustains me, then that is a total different approach, and that's a total different mindset. It's that whole concept of, when I am weak, He is strong. So God displays His strength when I am weak. Like when Pastor Jason came up after my message, and he says, like, during second service, he came up during worship and says, man, like, he's like, those that have not experienced God in a way that they have history with God, they have not experienced that. But if they continue to be with the Lord and being faithful to the Lord, they will. And it's the idea of, you don't have history with God because you have not faced a giant yet with the Lord. But once you do, nobody wants to face the giant. But when you face the giant and the Lord's with you and He delivers you, you're like, He delivered me from that. And so, I don't know if I'm fully answered the question, but there's definitely a difference.
Well, and I think another question, I don't know if it dovetails off of this or if it's completely separate, but just thinking about the confidence you had in yourself before God, and then the confidence you have in God now that you follow Jesus, how would somebody know if they're fighting like for God and what He wants, or just fighting for their own way? Or something that, they want or that matters to them? Yeah,
and I think that in many ways is who are you living your life for? And so that's a huge difference between me living my life for me and what I wanted to do and what I wanted to go after, and many times were things that will satisfy the flesh, against how I aim to live my life now, which it is obviously for the things that God has entrusted me with. So, my wife, my kids, my family, my good news family, friendships. And so, like, there's totally a difference there. And it's not things necessarily that I'm fighting for me to gain something. And that's why the story of David and Goliath is so interesting to me, because everything that King Saul was offering was so much. But yet David, when he faced Goliath, he did not mention any of that. He did not even bring it up. All he did was ask the people, what will be given to the man that does this? Okay. And obviously, he knew that there will be some sort of reward to the man that wins this battle, this fight. But that was not his focus. And so I think that if you want to look at, how do I know that? Well, are you looking after what you can gain? Because David could have been like, ooh, I get that. That's why I'm going to go fight this giant, just because of the benefits that I will get personally. But he was like, no, you're actually defying the Lord, defying God's army, God's people, and that's why I'm going after you. And therefore, I know that God is going to be with me. And the same thing when we talk about Caleb, when they went to explore Canaan, right? Like, Caleb actually said, we can certainly do this. God has promised us this land. And it's not like we can do it because we're better fighters, we're better warriors, because we got the numbers, because none of that. He said God gave it to us. He promised it. So therefore, God will deliver what He said He promised. So anyway.
You touched on that yesterday. I appreciated that when you said, and I can't remember exactly how it was worded, but you said sometimes you have to fight the battle to receive the promise. And so just like the promised land, they weren't just going to walk into it. They had to fight for it. And I think going back to the question about how do you know if it's for you or the Lord, sometimes in our minds I think that we think, well, God's way is the easy way, and sometimes it's not. Like, I think about your story and how you were on the fast track in the corporate world and you were moving up, and God's like, oh, how about you do this ministry thing? And you're like, that was the harder choice. That was, you mentioned you didn't always feel equipped, or you didn't feel like you had all these onlys that maybe we'll talk about it would have been easier to stay in your corporate job.
Yeah.
It would have been, sometimes we joke about, it would be easier if I didn't care so much. It would be easier if I didn't love so deeply. It'd be easier if I didn't want transformation for myself, for my family, for my Good News family. It would be easier. But God wants us to fight. And Pastor Greg talked about that, participating in your own transformation. And I think sometimes we convince ourselves or maybe believe the lie that like, oh, God's way is easy and God makes everything perfect. And it's like, no, you got to fight for this. So,
well, I think it was PJ said too in the fear versus faith sermon last week, and he talked about how they fought 3 battles to get into the promised land, and then they fought 18 or 19 battles within the promised land just to be able to remain and keep it. And so you got to fight for it, and anything that, what's that phrase, like anything that comes easy isn't worth having, or something like that, you know? So he doesn't promise no fighting. He doesn't promise that there's no struggle. But I think as we grow in him and we develop that history with him, and some of the other points that you hit on, we'll reflect on today, it maybe it should hopefully maybe have a tendency to not be quite so much of a struggle, because now, like, wait a minute, I've seen this before.
Well, because you rely on that confidence in the history that you have with God. Like David did. He's like, I fought the lion and I fought the bear, and who's this guy who's going to come and say this about my God? And when I've already done these hard things, so this is, I mean, I don't know if that's what he thought, but this is nothing for me. God will be with me. This goes back to that confidence.
Yeah, and the need of others in the battle. I don't want to dismiss that. I know that we're talking about David and Goliath, but there was definitely pivotal moments in my life when I needed to rely on others' experiences with God. And like I touched on Pastor Mark and how pivotal that was for me. And it was in a time where I was newer in the Lord. I didn't really have a ton of experiences or history with God. And I did in some ways, but I felt like this was totally outside of the scope of what I knew God to be. But Pastor Mark had come out of corporate, and Pastor Mark actually, which when he told me, I'm like, what? And I did not share that, but he retired. He left his job
early.
right before retirement. Like all he needed to do was just spend a couple of more years in the company and receive full retirement. But he felt like God is telling him, no, you leave now. Like this is where I'm calling you. And he did. And I'm like, when he told me that, I'm like, wait,
come again?
That sounds borderline stupid. Like I don't want to be like. It just sounds like nobody will do that. But he did, and I'm like, wait a minute. If he did that, then surely God can be with me making a decision like this. So it just gave me a totally different perspective. I talked about perspectives at the end of the message too, and you just flipped it upside down, because I'm like, wait a minute, okay, because that was one of the things to me. I'm like, God, I've invested 16 years in this company, and I'm like. And obviously, you had a plan for me there. But his word to me was, your time is done. And I did not know how to handle that. And so going to someone that had more experience, that had an experience with God almost like in the same way. And it's like, I have this history, and let me present to you what I did. And I'm like, well, you're crazy and stupid. What I'm getting ready to do doesn't seem that crazy and stupid now. So anyway,
I would also add to that you, when you decided this, you were humble enough to receive the correction or instruction or direction from those people that had gone before you. So I think that that's also a key piece of it. I don't want people to just be like, oh, I'm going to quit my job and go, because there is that you were the right person with the right heart at the right time.
Yeah, and another component to that is, when I finished my schooling in the first year, I came to Pastor Mark and I was like, Pastor Mark, I'm done with my first year. What do I do now? And he says, are you looking at going to full-time ministry? Is anybody knocking on your door? Are you looking at actually applying somewhere? I'm like, no, I don't even want to do this.
Were you still working in corporate?
Yeah, I was still doing that. So the idea was I received my calling and started like, oh, I'm going to take classes and stuff, right? I finished the first year. Pastor Mark said that to me. He's like, are you leaving work? Because I viewed taking classes for ministry as appeasing my guilt. So every time somebody had a message about anything having to do with God's calling or your life and giving your life for Jesus and everything, I felt so guilty that I couldn't stand it. It was like the Holy Spirit's like,
That's you.
Yeah, you're in disobedience. You're not obeying me. Like I keep telling you. So I started taking classes because it's just like, oh, look, Lord, I'm doing something
I'm
for you.
taking a
Like
step.
I'm preparing
Yeah.
myself. But inside of me, I had no intentions of moving forward with this. And I liked it because it was teaching me some things. I was learning some stuff. And it's like, oh, and I was leading a small group or a life group now. But
now it's
Just group.
now it's groups. Okay. Cell group, small group, life group, groups. Okay, we're back to square one.
Home fellowship groups is where it really
yeah.
started. Yeah.
But anyway, so, but
Are you even born yet?
I was going to say, hi, 1996, which I was
probably about
born
then.
before that.
So like I had no intention of actually following through with that. So then I finished year one, and it's like, and they were like, oh, you need to move on to year two. And I was like, so I told Pastor Mark, I'm like, I don't know, like, do I really? And he's like, well, like, are you got any plans? And I'm like, no, not really. He's like, well, so continue being equipped. And I say, okay, I'll do that. And so, but then I was like, what am I doing? I'm really just wasting my time. And I stopped for 10 years.
Oh.
I didn't know it was that long.
Yes. For just about close to 10 years. I was like, yep, I want to know. I went and
Still
did it.
working at your other job.
Yes. And I did, so.
You hadn't come here yet.
How did
No,
I
I was here. I was attending here.
No, but you
not on
weren't
staff.
working here yet.
No. I was not on staff. And so, yeah, so I was just like, man, God is opening doors for me. Things are happening. Things
At
are
your job.
moving. At my job.
Promoted.
And it's just like I'm being promoted. Things that, and I thought it was a word from the Lord.
Maybe it was.
I don't know, but now it seems like not as much. I told myself I'm going to become a marketplace evangelist.
Oh,
Okay.
you did one of those.
Yeah, so I wrapped it up in this nice gift, and I'm like, this is going to be
Like,
awesome.
look at me.
Yeah, so anyway, so that was a journey, and again, I was intimidated. I mean, the reason why I made a lot of the decisions that I was making, it was because I was intimidated. The big giant was like, you're not going to be able to survive ministry. You're not going to be able to do it. Nobody's going to listen to you. Your family needs you financially. Victoria's a stay-at-home mom, and she's like, and so now you're going to go to ministry, and like, so all of these things were playing a part, and I'm like, yeah, I really can't do it. It's not for me. I know, people have said this, but who do they know? And then you begin to even question the people that have spoken into your life.
Sure.
So, I mean, people that I really honor and value that were deacons here and pastors here and things, and they have said things to me and identify the calling. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, no, they have no idea what they're talking about. They're just in their flesh. So now you go into that side a little bit.
Isn't it funny? You mentioned, how do you know if it's confidence in the Lord or your own? Because even with all that, from what the world would see is you should have had all the confidence in the world. You're moving ahead at your job. You're making money. You're moving up the ranks. But you still knew internally that this is you. If you were honest with yourself, you would admit this is not it. This is not. And so I think back to the question originally, it's like you don't know, but you know.
Yeah.
Like, I know this is not where I'm supposed to be. I know this is not right. And I can say all the right things and do all the right things and put on the armor maybe of Saul, but that's not who I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's a good point.
Some of the things you mentioned too is just like different ways. I can't remember if this was you or not, but it's in my notes of how people might have heard the message. Like it might be the parent who's feeling overwhelmed and hears that they're messing their kids up. Might be the person stepping into leadership thinking I'm not qualified for this, or the calling you feel and you haven't stepped into it because the voice is, who do you think you are?
Yep.
And if they find out who I was,
Yep.
they're never going to want to listen to me. It's your marriage that feels way beyond what you can handle. I think parenting and marriage were big ones for us. Even Nate, when he became a business owner, it took him 18 years before he finally, kind of similar to you, but he knew after probably 10 or 12 that he was going to be needing to move on. But it took a long time for that confidence to be there to know this is God and this is what I'm supposed to do.
But that right there, it just shows you that this intimidation, that's exactly what it does. It robs you of your confidence.
Yep.
And not your own personal confidence, obviously, because in the Lord, we should be confident in the Lord, have our confidence placed in the Lord. And so, like when you said, like, it took him that much longer to figure out like I'm gonna step out here.
Yeah.
And because that's what intimidation does. It tells you all of the ways and things. It tells you how you're not adequate, and also all of the things that could happen. So it's not even it could, because so many times we play the what if games. Intimidation says this is what will happen. When Goliath went to David, he told him exactly what he was gonna do. I'm gonna kill you and feed you to the animal. Like he's like. So that's what it's not like, well, if. It's no, this will happen.
I think about it from a sports perspective as a former athlete. You know, when you would talk trash to the other teams, you're like, I got to get in their head. I got to get in their head, because then if it gets in your head, you start to doubt, oh, we are the better team. Oh, we are better athletes. We are better skilled, whatever it is, because all they're thinking about is, again, maybe from a volleyball perspective, oh, they just blocked me. Oh, I can't put the ball down. They keep digging the ball. And then it
affects
keeps you from playing your best.
Exactly.
It keeps you from your best.
Yeah. Okay, that kind of transitioned us to Goliath's incessant talking, and I loved that.
When you said for 40 days, I
40
literally wrote my
days.
notes. I would be so annoyed.
Yeah.
I'd be like, somebody shut this guy up.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I'll do it myself.
And then the arrogance of his brothers when he comes there, and I'm like, you guys aren't even fighting. You're just
Also-
sitting here like chickens listening to the guy throw threats. And
Yes.
So for 40 days, you've been sitting there while your little brother that you're mocking has been killing lions with his bare
When you were talking about
hands.
his older brother, I literally wrote my notes, older brother with the eye rolling emoji. Like, that would be what the older brother would say. I can't remember, like, oh, with your few sheep that you left in the. It's such an older brother thing to say.
Dad sent
Can
you
you
here
tell
to
I
feed
have
us
one?
lunch.
Yeah, like I was like, that hit. I was like, an older brother would say something like that.
Sounds
Sorry
like you
if
need
you're
to go to
listening.
the altar.
I have a lot going on, guys, between my obsessive compulsive door locking and my older brother, who I'm sure he's not listening, but I do love him. So
I don't even know where I was going with it. Just I think.
Incessive.
Yeah, the incessant, and how then you question yourself, and then you just can't almost even hear the truth anymore because you're
that's
hearing
good.
that. And how he said, why are you here? Which is another way of saying you don't belong here. Go back to dad. Go home, you little baby. Significance. With whom did you leave your few sheep? What do you know? You're so insignificant. And again, like, the brother had zero respect for what David was doing. He had no
Absolutely.
idea.
it was intimidation from Goliath and his brother.
Yes.
Like, on all sides. He's like, nobody's believing in poor David.
And then he attacks him, saying, "I know you're conceited and wicked
Yes.
heart. You're a bad person with bad motives," is what you said. Okay, so then thinking about how we're taught to read the Bible in context. So this is 1 Samuel 17. So I backed up to 16 this morning.
Yay!
And
I'm glad you did. So I wanted to hit on
I know,
16
but we only have so much
yesterday,
time.
but
You
I'm
can't
like,
do
I
it.
can't do it.
Listen, you
So,
already went a little long. I'm not mad about it. I'm just saying you
I
already
did,
went a
and you're
little
bringing it
long.
up now. I know I did.
But
Especially
listen,
second
Good.
service.
It was good. It was
Chapter
good.
16. His own dad forgets about him, supposedly, leaves him out in the field when Samuel's coming, looking like, I think I'm supposed to anoint one of your boys to be the king,
like,
but
"Oh, I
I'm
don't
not
know."
really sure. I'm checking this guy. This guy's super handsome. He's jacked, whatever. This guy looks like he's smart and put together, Are you sure that, and then none of them are it. And he's like, sure, there's nobody else. Oh, well, we got
wait.
we got the little guy
is
that's
one
out
more.
here,
Yeah.
So he's already, again, he's been forgotten, his self-worth. You don't belong here. We forgot about you. Those things started. And then he gets anointed as king, but literally goes back out to the sheep with that anointing. So I can see now why brother is like, what does he say? Like, you're conceited and wicked heart. Because he's like, yeah, you've already been anointed king. Yeah, whatever. What a joke. You're out in the field with the sheep. That guy didn't know what he was doing.
You're few sheep.
Yeah, you're few sheep.
Right, because if you had a lot of sheep, you were wealthier, and you just have a few.
So somehow you're going to be king.
Yeah,
But
with
I
your
think
sheep.
Samuel's gone senile, and you're really not the king. It's probably going to be one of us. So he's just been already attacked by them, and then he's out there, and now he has to just flesh this out with God. He's out there with the sheep. Who else do you talk to? Your sheep and God. And is it true? Am I going to be king? Is that how you see me? Is that who I am? You got stuff to say. I can hear it. I can see it.
It's just a lot. Like there's also the component of he gets anointed king. He goes back to the sheep. He also goes to Saul's palace to actually play for him.
Yeah.
And when he shows up so there's another
But that's
conversation about.
after Goliath. Like,
No. Like
he doesn't go to Saul. He doesn't go play for Saul until after Goliath.
So when do you have it pulled up?
No, not the actual Bible.
So the
Somebody get a Bible around here. We're in a
Come on,
church.
anybody?
but the component, what you're talking about when it comes to him spending time alone, anointed, how many of us will have a bad attitude, or like if you get anointed for something great, like you're this is who you're going to be.
Yeah.
And now you're going back to your old things. While you see others, like your brothers, they're going out to war with the king, and you out there left alone. And then your dad tells you to go take them this food.
Charcuterie
Please
board.
say it.
Charcuterie board.
Yeah, I just don't get that. Anyway,
Is that word exists in Spanish?
We would also
no,
call it.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it exists, but I don't know it.
We would also call it a meat and cheese tray. Like when we were kids, and we
never
when
used
you
that
talked
word.
about government cheese or whatever, I was like, oh, that's us. We would like to feed. My parents had 6 kids, so they would just like slice one of those summer salami things, and my mom would get a block of cheese and just
Just
like,
cut
and they'd
it
be
up.
like, all right, that's what we're having for dinner tonight.
Or some crackers. There
And
you
if
go.
we
I think
had some extra, we got the Ritz crackers
Okay,
or the
yeah.
grocery store brand of Ritz crackers.
Side note, this is chicken and a biscuit crackers.
Oh.
To this day, I cannot eat them because I don't know if they were part of the government package or if they were just super cheap. And I can't. We ate so many because that was what I'm like. No, thank you. I've had my fill. But
Okay, wait, we got to get back on track.
Yeah, so-
where were we? Raphael's like,
So-
we all stopped talking about charcuterie. Okay, go.
No, but then his dad is like, here, go and take this to your brothers and see how they're doing. And it's like, are you kidding? So putting myself in David's shoes, I would have been like,
Would have been like, I'm the king.
I'm like, are you
Dad.
kidding me? Like, I wouldn't be like, I get anointed. As soon as I get anointed, I'll be like, y'all go take care of these sheep. Like, I'm not doing that no more. Like, do you hear what the prophet of the Lord said? No, like, I mean,
did you see that oil he put on my head?
like this
I
is.
still got some.
Yeah. Like, do y'all need some of this? Like, no, I mean, but just his heart behind going back to his assignment. And then, like, when that, and I talked about this on verse 20 of chapter 17, but the fact that he left the sheep with a shepherd, like, it shows you David's heart. Like, it is. Yeah, and so
He didn't just peace out
He didn't negate
and
his
forget about it. Yeah.
and so I really love that. But the constant attack to that intimidation and that you're not worth, like, as you're talking about, from his dad, then from his brother, then from Saul himself, you can't go, and then from Goliath, like he had all of these, like, you're only this, you're only
I'm
that.
glad you brought that up because that was, I don't know if I would say one of my favorite parts, but one of the parts that like struck me because I've had those moments where I'm like, oh, I'm only this. I'm
Yeah, you say that
only
quite a bit.
this.
Yeah.
We
What
tried.
did you used to say all the
try
time?
that surgically remove that from your life.
Yeah.
What when you started here, for sure. I don't know if she does it as much anymore, but you're only what?
Oh, I'm only a secretary. I only type things.
Yeah. And Tana said that to me the first time I talked to her about joining the team here.
I said I'm only a stay-at-home mom.
Which was funny
Bingo.
because we happened to be sitting together yesterday during the second service, and I was I was on the live stream yesterday. So when you said it in first service, my immediate thought was, and this might ruffle some feathers, but I'm only a woman, and I am not a feminist in the modern term that people think of it. I am not like this women should be about, like, I fully believe in God's design for men and fully believe in God's design for women. And I think it affects me so deeply when people are like, oh, women shouldn't be in ministry, or because I'm not here to make a name for myself. I am not about, like, I don't want 8,000 million Instagram. I just want people to know Jesus and be transformed by the story, like my life has been transformed. So when people will say things about women in ministry, I'm like, they're just trying to bring the gospel. They're just trying to be disciples. They're just, I mean, I'm sure that there are some women in ministry, just like there are some men in ministry who have ulterior motives and selfish ambition and all of those things. You could say that about any profession.
Yep, absolutely.
But when it comes to like building the kingdom and helping lives be transformed, that's all I want. I it's not because I don't even know what chromosomes women have, X, Y, or XX, whatever it is.
I don't remember.
I really
long
just
time ago.
I really just want people to know the Lord. And so when people think that women aren't qualified or they don't belong, I find that it is hurtful, and I have to fight against that lie. That I just want people to know Jesus, you know. So I don't want power over men. I don't want authority over men. If I have something, just like if I have something that the Holy Spirit has revealed to me that I can pass on to a woman or a man, just like as a man, you have something that the Holy Spirit has revealed to you that I can learn from. Great. Great. Also the stay-at-home mom bit, because I was a stay-at-home mom for a very long time, and I always joke about that 1 year I went to college. You know, I'm a high school graduate. My parents had 6 kids. I'm the only one who didn't graduate from college. So there are all these onlys, you know what I mean? But so it's like this ongoing process of like, but that doesn't matter to God. This is what God is asking me to do. Can I be confident in my history with him to face those giants, you know, every time?
And I didn't have time to touch on this on Sunday, obviously, but like, you realize that the people that Jesus called to follow him were the ones that had those onlys.
Yeah.
They were the ones that did not make it as disciples of the rabbis of the time.
They were rejected.
They're the ones that were fishermen and tax collector, like that people looked upon in a different light. And so thinking through that, it's like, So Jesus knew something about those people that carry, well, I am only blank. And to your point about the fact that came to your head when I said that, and you're thinking, oh, I am only a woman, that's one of the things that I will love to dismantle when it comes to church culture. And for the same reasons of what you said, I've learned things from women around me, women that are in ministry, that I have not learned from men. And I think that when we add those, well, you are only to people, we're doing a huge disservice, because we have no idea what battles they have fought in private, right? Just like David, his brother did not know perhaps what he had been dealing with, and obviously they have been out there in the battle for a while, because Goliath had been talking trash for 40 days, and so like, sometimes it's those private battles that people fight that we don't know about. And as I said, those fights that you fight privately prepare you for your future battles. And sometimes those future battles are very public, are in the public eye. So you can, listen, you brought up sports earlier, and I love all the sports analogies. Like when you see a player actually wanting to have a ball in the last seconds, they chuck it from almost half court and make it, like that dude yesterday from UConn that messed up my Final Four. I would have had a perfect Final Four. And he just came up.
He's like a 19-year-old kid.
But what I'm saying is that you can tell that kid is like, give me the ball, give me the ball, and I'm chucking it like I don't care. And then you can tell the dude, number 3 for Duke, that is guarding him, that doesn't even jump. I'm like, what are you doing? He just stood there and let him shoot. And I'm like, but again, like you can tell that when the pressure is applied, what you do in private will show up. And so when that pressure was applied to David and publicly, he's like, oh, this is no big deal. And I was talking to PJ about this. One of the interesting things is I'd much rather fight any man, any day, any size, any weapons, and not a lion.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Where are you going with this?
No, well, because it's like, wait a minute, like
he sticks his hand in and pulls the shape out of his mouth.
Listen,
what?
Well, and like I grab it by the hair. I'm like, come on, David. Like, but
you were like, did you really?
Like
the fish was
exaggerating a little bit.
Yeah, every time you tell a story about the fish you caught, it's like before you know it, it's like it was a giant, huge whale. Anyway, but like it. So that tells you that what he dealt with in private was even greater than this public obstacle, this public situation that he was facing. And it's like, wow. So yeah, I'm much afraid much rather fight a man than a lion.
Okay, bring it to current day and like how David had to continue to fight to believe who God said he was and who God had called him to be. Have you seen that like in your own life? Does it like ever get settled, or does the enemy constantly return with like the same lame excuses or accusations and doubts?
Yeah, the enemy doesn't stop, and it is the reason why I say that is a basic tactic is because that's what he goes to first. Because what has worked in the past can work again, and so like if I have believed that I'm not good enough, he's going to bring that back up, or because for me now it's not as much as me. He doesn't attack me, and he doesn't say, "Oh, you're conceited and have a wicked heart," like the brother, right? Like the brother said to David, Eliab. But what he does now is trying to question God. So the intimidation comes from like, is God really listening to you?
It goes all the way back to the garden.
Exactly.
Did God really say
exactly
that you are supposed to do this? Did God really say?
I always think, and I have yet to find a situation where this doesn't apply, do you trust God?
Right.
Do you trust God? Do you trust God?
Yeah. And it is, so the intimidation kind of changes as to where he's directing it to, but it's like, oh my goodness, this is happening to me now, and like I know that I can handle it, but God's got this. And it's like, but are you sure that God's got this? Like, are you like? I think He has not answered you before in the way that you have asked. So like, how about if He doesn't answer now? Like, and so things like that begin to creep into your head, and that intimidation is like, oh wow, now I'm losing confidence. So that's what intimidation does.
So I was yesterday during worship when Carissa was talking about history with God. When that happens and I'm feeling intimidated or where are you, God? Are you not? And she started talking about, you were there when the kids were diagnosed. You were there when we had to move 5 times in 3 months. You were there. So I've done that before where when I'm struggling, I literally go back and rely on that history with God.
It's a great exercise.
You were there when Jake lost his job twice. You were there when this person didn't show up. You were there when my husband walked out. You were there when I was told this bad news about this baby. You were there when I was diagnosed with cancer. You were there when I was in the room receiving radiation all by myself because nobody else is allowed in the room because it could kill them. Like, and so just going through, and even if you have to verbalize it. Looking back and seeing all those times, you've talked about it, when you were at the altar in this very auditorium, God was with me. And that, I think, in my experience and opinion, helps you remember and be confident because you're like, God, you were with me all of these times. You're not going to leave me now. Yeah. You're not going to leave me now. It might not look the way I want it to look, but I know that you're with me.
Yeah. That is a great example of how we can mentally prepare ourselves and also prepare our hearts, because it is what you just talked about was actually remembering, and it's something that the Israelites did constantly.
Right. Set up little monuments. God would say, set up a little monument so that generations later
they call
they
those,
come see them.
Was it like stones of remembrance or something?
Stones of remembrance, yeah.
Okay.
So they set up the stones so that when the next generation is like, why are these here? Well, let me tell you why they were here. There's a reason why Jesus says, remember this. So like when we take the communion, so it's like we remember. The reason why we do communion is to remember. So like going back and saying, oh wow, every time we take communion, I'm taken to a place where I'm like, oh wow, like you did this just for me. Like I am so not worthy of your sacrifice. And just like that exercise of going back and thinking through all the things that God has done, what that does inside of you is raises your confidence, your trust, and it's like, you were there for me before, and you can do it again. So I think that's a great example of something we can do.
And thinking about that time, I was thinking while you were talking about the time that I reference here at the altar, he actually took me back to the places where I was far from him.
Okay.
And not wanting to follow. I was trying to follow. I couldn't trust him. I'm making my own way and just making a mess after a mess, after a regret, after a regret. And just even learning his mercy and grace in that he was still walking alongside while I was trying to figure out, can I trust you? And are you really the Lord of my life? What does that mean? Because then once I settle that, then then that builds that history of then I should be able to move on, and no matter what, I'm going to trust you. Now, I feel even recently been in one of those places where I do have to dig a little deeper to remember that you have always been there. You've always been faithful. But sometimes, sometimes he doesn't change the circumstance. Sometimes what he calls you into, or for you to be brave, Stephen the martyr, is Stephen was brave. Stephen did everything right. Stephen is calling them out. He's preaching the gospel right there, and he gets stoned. Boom. We like to talk about the victorious ways that they end when we are confident in who God is and we aren't intimidated by the enemy. But not all the stories end up like that. And now we get a glimpse with Stephen where he's looking up and he's looking into heaven, like you're like, all right, if I'm going to die, but I can see you, I'm confident, there you are, then let's go. But it doesn't always work out that way, So how do you work out that confidence versus intimidation?
I think I think you have to be comfortable with not knowing. You just have to be okay with sometimes, I don't know how this is going to work out. And I don't even when you see how it's worked out, I don't understand why. Some of the things we're just not going to know.
Where sometimes you say, really, that's the best solution? That's the way you want to go with this? But then it's,
I think
okay,
about
you're
people.
God.
We just prayed for that sweet person in Skaggs this morning, who a young couple whose
she's like
the wife was they'd been married for 6 months, diagnosed with leukemia, and 2 months later she's gone. And believers, really, Lord, is that your will? Is that what you wanted for her life? And the ripple effects of her passing, and it's just hard to understand, but also it's hard to understand because I'm a human and I think that I should know how things go. Pastor Greg has talked about it specifically in Job, when God is talking to Job and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, where were you when I made the stars in the sky? Oh, I'm sorry, where were you when I laid the foundations?
So do you trust me?
I guess you're right. So do you trust me? And even being like, I want to. In the New Testament, when he's like, I believe, help me in my unbelief. I want to trust you. Help me with where I don't trust you. And offering that to God, I always talk about having very honest conversations with the Lord. I don't understand this. I don't like the way it makes me feel. I don't like not knowing, but there's nothing I can do about it except pray and talk to you about it and surrender the situation. Easier said than done. But
I think in what you said, Tana, about having to dig deeper to find those places where he has met you, I think that sometimes we have to get out of our own head. That's why I think that community is so important. I think that in a situation where David needed his best friend, right? He needed Jonathan, and he was like, he needed that dude sometimes to protect him, that dude to actually say, hey, my dad is coming after you. And sometimes we think it's between me and God. Yes, it is. But there are times when you're not going to have the mental or emotional strength to actually get yourself to remember. But I've been in situations where I had dear brothers say hey, dude, this is not who you are. Remember who you used to be? Look the man that you are now. So let's get up and go. And so sometimes we need that as well, because it is how we're supposed to do this community of believers. And we see it in the book of Acts, how they had all things in common. When they say all things in common, it's not just a kumbaya kind of thing. All things in common, man. You're hurting, I'm hurting. You're hurting, I'm hurting. We're all doing this thing together. And so that's that component of if the enemy can get you by yourself, alone, isolated, and to believe a lie, and to then meditate on that, everything else we're going to flow from that.
Isn't that's like that? It was on my mind earlier. 1st or 2nd Peter verse where the enemy is prowling around like a roaring lion, seeking who he can devour, and it's all about he's looking for that gazelle who lost track of everybody else and went and get something weak, can't keep up, whatever, and he's going to go after them. But the one that's in the herd with everybody has so much more protection over them.
It's good.
You talked about having a clear why, and that David wasn't fighting for the reward; he was fighting for God's name, and that sometimes we'll need to help fight for those around us who can't, and what we were just talking about, or even those who refuse to fight. Which sometimes I want to drop kick people who refuse to fight. But I was thinking of Moses actually, because I'm reading in Numbers right now, and where they're like, take us back to Egypt, you failed us. Take us back to Egypt, you failed us, and he has to continue to contend for them, continue to go to God and go, please don't wipe them out. I know they deserve it, but you don't want our enemies to think that you can't handle us and you're not strong enough and big enough. So for your name's sake, for your glory, could you
forgive them?
Forgive
they know
us.
Not what they do.
Exactly. Give them another chance, And
I don't know if I would be that way.
but he cared about God's reputation.
Sure.
And sometimes that's, again, that community aspect of fighting, of like, I may be too weak to fight, or maybe kind of wrestling through what does that look like, but when I'm in my right mind, I don't want God's reputation to be damaged by anything I say or do. So you come alongside me and help me remember what the truth is, so that I continue to save his reputation and bring him glory. I've said that before a lot, of like, there are certain things that if they happen to me, I will need you to remind me of the truth that I have professed all this time. But just keep doing it, and I know that I will pull through on the other side. Because, again, when we were talking about earlier, some losses or whatever, then I have to also believe that life is but a vapor. So this part seems really hard. This part seems like, man, David was fighting his whole life, whatever. But it is a vapor compared to the life that David is living now. It's a vapor for us compared to what eternity holds. So just keep the fight.
That's what, when you said, what is your why, it makes you think, is like, oh, my kids, or oh, my, and it's all of that. It is living, this phrase is so, like, living your best God ordained life here, but also eternity. It's keeping that in mind. Like, there's so much more, again, we're humans, so we're like, oh, this is what we see, so this must be all there is. And it's like, have the faith to believe that this is literally just I don't even know if I'd call it the beginning. It's just part of it, with eternity in mind.
Yeah. A couple other questions that I thought of when you were talking to us about, like, being yourself, and that we have purpose, and then remember that we're God's masterpiece, so don't be a counterfeit. And you said David refused Saul's armor because it wasn't him. He didn't know it. It was actually going to become a handicap to him. It was safer and better for him to go out and fight with his little bag of stones and his little slingshot, because he knew how to use those. And he obviously had seen God work through those in what he's already done. And you said, be the best version of yourself and not a cheap copy of someone else. How do I know if I'm being a cheap copy of someone else?
I mean, every single one of us know who we are. Inherently, you know the things that you're able to do and you're not able to do. So, for example, like, going back to physical activity, at this point, I'm very confident that I could run a half marathon. I'm not very confident that I could run a full at the level that I want to. Can I finish it? Sure. I feel very confident about that. If you tell me, Rafael, can you finish a full marathon in under 4 hours? I will tell you, I don't think I can. So I know that about myself. You could ask the next guy. You ask Tom Houston, and he would tell you, yeah, I could finish it in under 3:30. But that's him.
Totally.
So he is confident.
And at 3:45 in the morning.
Yeah. But so what I'm saying is, like, each and every one of us know who we are. Going back to who I am as a man, I knew for a while that I could not enter a bar. I couldn't, because I did not know, after giving my life to Jesus and saying I will live my life dry, meaning I'm not going to drink alcohol for the rest of my life. I felt like I needed to do that Nazarite vote or whatever, vow. Yeah, not a vote.
Thank the Lord you didn't grow your hair.
Yeah, like a Nazarene.
Yeah.
The Nazarite vow is like, you can't cut your hair.
Yeah, you can't drink alcohol. Oh, but no, but I mean, I didn't know what it was, but I just felt like God was calling me to that. But I knew that I couldn't go to a bar. It wasn't something that I felt safe in doing. Now, that's not a problem. So I knew who I was. Like I've said this before. We go to a mall in a strange city. I don't know where Victoria's Secret is. I went to the directory to know that's where it is. I'm with my wife. If she needs to go there, she goes by herself. I go in the opposite direction because I don't want to even walk by that store, right? Those were the guards that I was putting in place because I know me as a man and who I am and who I was. So now, not an issue, but it is something that I have to know. Who am I? So when I'm talking about be the best version of yourself, and not a cheap copy of someone else, is if I go and try to actually do what Tom Houston does, running a marathon, I'm going to blow myself up. I'm not going to finish. I'm not going to be the best version of myself. I'm not going to be able to finish what I started, right? But if I do it in a way that actually I know that I can do it, right? That it functions for me and I could be victorious, then that's the way that I'm going to do it. So every single one of us, at some level, we know how we're wired, what we do. When somebody cuts me off driving, I know that things happen internally, physically to me. And more recently, that doesn't bother me as much as somebody riding my bumper. Like if I could see that you're just really riding me for a long time, it takes all of Holy Spirit for me not to slam on my brake. I'm serious. And so those things like that, I know about myself. So as soon as I see somebody, especially like we're in the interstate, there's 3 lanes. I'm in the center lane and you're riding me for like 5 miles and there's 2 lanes open and it's in the middle of the night. Talking about like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night.
This happened recently, I can tell. He's like, and the car was blue and the license plate was.
Look at me now.
And it was a brown guy driving, and I actually did kind of slow down to about 50 miles an hour, and he passed me, and then anyway, so that's what I'm talking about. Like,
you guys make eye contact?
I did.
I looked at him as he drove past me.
And then I just
for trouble.
I got behind him, but then the voice started saying, "Back off," and I'm like, "No," and then he started speeding up, and then the Lord's like, "Back off," and I'm like, he's only doing 75. I could keep going up and back off. But so why am I saying all of this? To say that each and every one of us, we know who we are. And now, what is the best version of yourself? So that best version of myself is not slowing down 50 and a 65 to get behind a dude to actually then, I'm going to show you, idiot. Right? That's not the best version of myself. The best version of myself is actually knowing that when that happens, I keep my regular speed and I don't get flustered and they do what they do and I'm going to honor Jesus with my life. That is the best version of myself. And so there is this trying to be somebody else, because there are people that I've talked to, especially sometimes young guys, it's like, I want to do what you do. And I'm like,
do ya?
Yeah, and so sometimes it's like,
Let's start with the pay cut.
Well,
you want to live with the pay cut?
Well, but
the salary cap.
But there is
you want to answer that?
Well, I've been very, very blessed. That good news. And so, after 12, going on 13 years here, and that's because of our Good News family. But the reality is that there are things that you don't know, that I don't know about who somebody is and what somebody's doing, that is like, oh, I want to be that. I want to be that person. And then we try to emulate them, we try to be them, and sometimes it's like, Paul says, like, imitate me, right? Like, follow me as I follow Christ. That's important. That is great. We have to do those things. But I'm talking about this comparison of trying to put on things that you're not meant to carry, right? So the reason why David felt uncomfortable, he was not used to an armor, and it's not what he's meant to carry. So even in our own personal lives and in our own lives as believers, it's like sometimes we see a believer do something, and perhaps God has given them a grace, right? To talk about X, Y, and Z, right? And they're like, oh yeah, man, the way that brother talks that and the conviction that comes about when he speaks, like, I want to do that. But be careful, because has God called you to actually do that? It's like you said earlier, I said, God calling me to be a marketplace evangelist. Like, was that something that I just use as a crutch and as wrapping the gifts so it looks better? Not the gift, but wrapping this thing up in gift wrap because it just looks pretty, because I didn't want to deal with what was inside of that. Before I would have said, oh yeah, the Lord called me to be a marketplace evangelist. The more and more that I've thought about that season and what I was doing, I will say, no, that was just my flesh trying to make me feel comfortable. And because I was listening to the intimidation, and however I could wrap it up for it not to make me feel uncomfortable, then I was going to do that. So anyway, I don't think I answered your question, did I? Maybe a little bit.
I don't even know. I don't even remember the question.
The question was about, like, how do you know when you're not being yourself, or you're being somebody else?
Yeah.
So I think that every single one of us inside of us, we kind of know what we're, and there are times that we try to be someone else, or even show this front.
Yeah. You got anything? I think I'm going to wrap us up right there. Do you have anything?
Well, just like I remember when this was years ago, when Jake was a pastor, and I dyed my hair it was cool at the time. Well, it probably wasn't cool because I wasn't cool, but like seemed cool to have like these like
gray.
Wow, really? Come
Watch
on.
yourself.
They were like bright red, like not red. They were like streaks, kind of. I don't know. And I was working a marketplace job, and this lady was like, "Why'd you dye your hair that way?" And I was like, "I don't know. I thought it was cool." And she's like, "But your husband's a pastor. Are you allowed to do that?" And I was like, I don't know. But it was just like, because at the time, the pastor's wife and the pastor's wife, both here at the church and just overall, was seen as like, you're very put together. You wear pink suits with pantyhose, and I'm like, that is the farthest thing from me. Even now, I'm like, I would love to wear sweatpants to church every Sunday. But so it's just funny how we think of, this is what we should be, because what worked for Saul, that armor worked for Saul. He had fought many battles. Saul kills his thousands and David's his tens of thousands. But that doesn't work for David. So I think that it's important. Even people that you emulate or look to, or your group leaders, or fill in the blank, you can learn things like Paul says, follow me, but it doesn't mean be them. So
100%. So even just wrapping this up of like, kind of what do you do now after hearing a message like this? I had a couple points here of, maybe homework you could have this week if this message really spoke to you. Identify the giant, like what is intimidating you right now, and then expose the lie. What is the voice saying? Is it truth or is it intimidation? Because sometimes the voice is truth. And you've talked about the way the Holy Spirit talks to you is maybe slightly different than the way he talks to other people. Some of us need a little bit more shut up, and others of us need like, sweetheart, that's not the truth. That's not what I said to do.
The Holy Spirit has never called me sweetheart, ever.
Me neither.
I just say me either.
Okay, well, good.
But it's the way I've talked to my kids at different times.
Sure.
Remember your history. List 2 or 3 ways that God has come through for you before. And then replace the I'm onlys with truth. God knows who I am and has called me, and he will equip me. And sometimes we have to say that stuff on repeat. I'm actually like probably preaching to myself right now. Take one step toward the fight. Whether it's a conversation, whether it's a decision, maybe you need to take a risk. Maybe you just need to pray something you haven't been willing to pray. Take a step toward the fight. And then you took us really to Psalm 121 at the end, and just even putting God's word in your heart, in your mind. Play it in the car while you're driving. Play it when you're cooking dinner, or mowing the yard or whatever, rather than all the other things we could be listening to. If we really want to win this battle of who I'm gonna be and who I'm gonna believe, that intimidation versus confidence, I have to be willing to do some homework. So I might need to not watch the news when I'm cooking dinner. I need to actually be putting God's word into my mind while I'm cooking dinner. Those kinds of decisions. Make a decision and then do it, because we have to learn how to fight.
Do you have 121 up there?
I don't. I know. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm a failure today.
Am I allowed to? Because I think it's verse 7. So I want to highlight real quickly because of something that my phone just froze on me. Oh my goodness.
While you're looking for it, I'll say I heard this phrase this past weekend, and it was not from a Christian perspective necessarily, but the phrase was decide and do. So for me, I'm like, give me something simple that I was like, I loved that, because I was like, decide who you want to be. Decide what is important to you? Are you going to do this thing with the Lord? Are you going to go on this pilgrimage with Jesus? When you decide that, then you do it. You've made the decision. Now do it. And people have to participate in their own transformation. We continue to say that because it's true. Like you can't expect to not make any changes, but also be able to face your giants.
Right.
So.
Right.
Yeah, so verse 7 of 121, and there's a reason why I want to read this. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. And the first time I ever read that, I was a little bitter about that verse. So I'm like, the Lord will keep you from all harm? Like, that doesn't seem to be true. Yeah. And so it took me a while to actually I really spent some time with the Lord, specifically with that verse. And obviously, the B part of that, it says he will watch over your life. And the Lord helped me to understand and says, like, yes, what you consider harm in your life, you have no idea what I kept from you.
Yeah.
You have no idea that what you consider harm in your life, how I've kept it from actually really being harm. Because you talked about that young couple, and sometimes we can't understand. And I have to be okay with not knowing it all, not understanding it all. And so, like, that's a verse that I just really had to wrestle with the Lord, what it means. But when you look at that entire psalm, it's like, man, truly I can declare that over my life, over the life of those whom I love. And so, yeah.
It's good. Well, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for a great message, PR. Yeah, even just thinking about what your week was last week, and just you
had a long week.
You had a long week, and even just the circumstances around writing the message. And I just love that, when the guys preach, they have to wrestle it out first. They haven't even figured it all out yet. They're not preaching down to us. They're preaching with us. They're bringing things of kind of like I would do with Sarah, of like, hey, God is speaking this to me, and like, what do you think about that? And let's grow in this together. That's what they're doing too. So I love that we're all growing together. So let's fight to be confident in who God is and who he says that you are. You're his masterpiece. And how David said, I come in the name of the Lord. Like, that's how we face our giants, is I come in the name of the Lord. He comes with us, whatever that looks like. So keep fighting, fight for courage. Don't be intimidated by the lies of the enemy. Know who you are because of who God is. Have a great week, and we'll chat again next time.